Action.
Good evening. I'm Don Jensen, the chair of the board of Washington Filmworks, wanting to welcome you tonight to our 2023 industry update. We've done this for a number of years now. It's been an interesting year for the film business, with a lot of people not being able to work for many parts of the year. And then I think probably some pretty significant victories in negotiations, both for crews and for actors. And I think we're ready to go again. So as a result of that, we haven't had a huge amount of activity during the past year, but we've had some interesting things and some big advancements in the industry and in the state that we'll be talking about. This evening, we're making this show in Spokane for a variety of reasons, but one of them being that Spokane has really become a key filmmaking place in the industry. And we'll highlight some of that this evening while we're here. Another thing about this evening, we're very lucky to have with us the newly elected mayor of Spokane, Lisa Brown. Lisa, besides being an exciting new mayor, has been a supporter of the film incentive in the state since it began. She, in fact, introduced the legislation that passed to begin Washington Filmworks and to begin the incentive project 17 years ago. I might have my dates wrong, but something like that. Anyway, so it's exciting to have her here this night. And I guess with that, I will turn it to our executive director, Amy Lillard.
Welcome to the annual industry update. We have lots and lots of special guests here tonight, but I have to say that we owe a debt of gratitude to our first guest. She has many, many titles in her history: a Washington State Representative, a Washington State Senator, the Minority Leader of Washington State Senate, the Director of Department of Commerce, the Provost of WSU, and Professor of Economics. And now, Mayor-elect Lisa Brown. So, welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. It's really fun to be here.
Oh, it is we're so excited to have you here. And I would love, if you can just start by sharing, like, you have another title, you have a new job. What are you most excited about? Because you're January 1st.
Yes.
Right?
So this is the transition period. And whenever there's new leadership, there's new opportunities. So Spokane is in a really interesting place. We have some of the same challenges that many cities have. Affordable housing is very tricky for us, the issues of the unhoused population. But we also have so much potential. And the creative economy has always been a passion of mine. So that's why I'm really happy to be here tonight and hear about what's ahead. And certainly the film industry in Spokane and the whole creative sort of portfolio of things that are happening in our state are very exciting to me and something I want to champion as a mayor.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, because as we have had this long relationship, because I have been here for 16 years, you prime sponsored the bill, but why, you were supporting creative economy before it got a little bit more popular. Like, why do you think it's important for government to support the creative economy?
Well, we can't do it alone. One of the things that happened early on is people came to me and said, look, there are incentives in other states. We have a lot to offer here. We have talent, we have natural beauty, we have a lot of stories to tell, but we need that little extra edge that an incentive gives. And that convinced me. I'd like to see as much film activity here as possible. And so it was a bit of a saga in the legislature over the years, but I think especially in the last couple of years, we've really started to get to a place where we can have a significant, predictable, and then ongoing impact on the industry and then on our communities, urban and rural, and all over the state.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much in the new bill that passed in 2022, which we're going to talk about tonight. But I would also like to understand from your perspective, because, you know, part of your success as an elected official has always been knowing your constituency. So can you talk a little bit about why it's important that people show up for film day or in community to be with their elected officials to talk about what we do? Like, how does that impact you as an elected official?
I can tell you that numbers matter. I mean, I'm an economist and I love to talk about the multiplier effect of the creative economy, but stories really matter. And when people come and tell a story to a policymaker about their life and what they do in that legislator's community, that's what sticks. And policymakers really want to make a difference in people's lives. And so those stories and the motivation of seeing people who are engaged in projects and in all different facets of it, that's what really sticks, and that's what makes the difference. And there are a lot of people who get paid to go to Olympia to be a lobbyist for this issue or that issue, but it's the quote unquote real people who show up and tell their stories and meet their legislators that really make a big difference on the outcome. And it's really fun. You get to see the political process in action and then see a good outcome eventually occur.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say, you mentioned, you know, being on a film set and those kinds of things. You might be delighted to know that Time Magazine just named Dream and Wild as one of its top 10 movies this year, which filmed here. And I know that you were on set with me.
Yes.
So I'm curious, you've been to so many sets, I realize, but like what strikes you when you go to a film set? Like what's memorable to you?
Well, this one was really exciting because I'm a music fan. My son's a musician. The fact that it featured these local musical artists and their really compelling story was fun. That piece of it I really loved. But the other thing I like about a film set is it's this combination of organization and coordination and craft, and then it's improvisation and teamwork. It's like all of that at once. Honestly, it's a little bit like moving in a political environment. There's no set of rules. You've got to go with what you know and your talent, but you also have to go with the moment and the teamwork. And that's what happens on a film set. And I just love it. I want to come to every single one I can. Maybe have a few other things going on as mayor, but anytime there's a film being filmed near here, I'd love to be there.
Well, you are always welcome, of course. And again, just on behalf of the statewide film industry, thank you so much for championing what we do way back to 2006 to today. And we can't wait to have you on set in Spokane or wherever you want to be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
So we're going to move to a new part of the evening, which is each year at the annual industry update, we invite a mixologist from somewhere. And tonight, because we are in Spokane, we have the great pleasure of having Zach Fullerton here from Cease and Desist Book Club in downtown Spokane. We have a naughty drink, which is the boozy eggnog, and we have the nice drink, which is a mocktail that is the pineapple upside down. So Zach is here, and we are going to be joined now also with the Deputy Director of WhipSmart, Melissa Huggins, who's going to talk through the naughty and the nice. So welcome, Melissa and Zach.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Huggins. I serve as the Deputy Director of WhipSmart, as Amy said. WhipSmart is a statewide organization, and we are a partner organization to Washington Filmworks. So we serve creative entrepreneurs and creative businesses across Washington state. So what does that mean? What kind of creatives are we talking about? We're talking about the whole range of creativity. So architects to musicians to graphic designers to gamers, just the whole realm of creatives across the state is who the organization is serving. So as Amy said, we get to do the fun part, which is let's talk about some cocktails and mocktails. So I would like to introduce Zach Fullerton of Cease and Desist Bar and ask Zach to talk a little bit about his creative background and then tell us why he chose these particular two cocktails.
Fantastic. I've been a bartender here in Spokane for about 8 years now, hopping around to different bars and establishments through the years. And before that, I was actually a graphic designer and software engineer for about 5 years for a couple of agencies in Seattle. Moved over here just to kind of expand my horizons, and it was a little bit different environment back then. But I do have some fun cocktails today for you. We'll start with the boozy eggnog. We'll do the alcoholic one first. That's more important, right? This one's fairly straightforward, easy to remember. It's 1 ounce of everything. We'll start with a 1 ounce pour of Remy. This is your cognac base. And then we'll do the 1 ounce of your spiced rum. I'm using Sailor Jerry's. Whichever spiced rum is your favorite, it won't matter. I wouldn't use anything too spendy or too fancy. It's going to get buried in a lot of other ingredients. And then we're going to do 1 ounce of vanilla liqueur. I'm using Giffard's vanilla liqueur. This might be a tough bottle for most people to find, depending where you're at. There's another good substitute that is pretty ubiquitous. Liqueur 43 is a good substitute for that one. That is a very easy one to find in most liquor stores. We're actually going to add 1 of these ice cubes too, by the way. This is important for this drink. An ice cube about this size. We're not going to load it full of ice like a lot of other cocktails because we don't want to water this down. About 1 inch cubes, or about 2 ounces of ice if you're using smaller cubes. Then we're also going to be doing 1 ounce of simple syrup. This is just sugar and water boiled together. And then we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing 1 ounce of heavy cream. Any cream will do. If you want to lighten it and do it with half and half, you can do that if you're worried about fat content or anything like that. The thicker the better, though. We want this to be a viscous, a little more like eggnog texture drink. And then last, we're going to be using a whole egg, yolk, white, and all. And if you're a little worried about putting an egg into a drink, don't worry about this. Salmonella is the thing everyone's scared of. It doesn't do well in cold environments, and it doesn't do well in the presence of alcohol. So both of those things should take care of that. If you're worried about eggs and you don't want to use that, there's a product called Aguafaba that you can use instead. That is essentially chickpea juice. It'll still foam up and froth up. It's going to be a little bit thinner than the egg white, but it will work in a pinch if we're avoiding eggs for that reason. So just seal the container, shake it, and you're going to want to shake this until you stop hearing the ice move around. And what this does is it aerates the egg. It's going to give you a nice frothy, velvety texture. You're basically creating an emulsion with it. So shake it until the ice stops clanging around, and you start to hear just that foamy shake.
Zach, I feel like shaking a cocktail shaker is one of the coolest things that people can do. Like, no matter who does it, it looks cool, right?
I will admit I've never seen Cocktail with Tom Cruise, and at this point I'm avoiding watching it out of spite. So the other reason you shake until the ice is gone is this way you do just a straight pour. There's no need to filter it. And then we have the eggnog, and you just garnish it with some, preferably fresh grated, but if you have the store-bought stuff, that is fine too. It's really mostly just for the garnish. And there we have the boozy eggnog.
Beautiful.
All right.
So
And
tell us about the mocktail option.
The
that you have
mocktail.
for
So
us.
in keeping with sort of an eggnog theme, I wanted to do the second drink for anyone that's not doing alcohol. And the second one is actually going to be completely dairy-free and completely vegan. So if there's any dietary restrictions, this should work out for anyone with those restrictions. This one we are just going to use regular ice. Any kind of ice will do. This is a normal shake. Just as much as you want. This one, again, very simple drink. We're going to start with 2 ounces of pineapple juice. You can juice your own if you'd like. I'm just using the garden variety canned stuff. It is up to you how fancy you want to get with it. And then I'm also going to be using about 2 ounces of coconut cream. And even though I said cream, this is going to be, again, dairy-free. All this is coconut puree. I'm using the Pure brand. You can find this in pretty much any store. And I'm also using just a can of coconut milk. Usually you find that in your Asian food section next to like the curries, stuff like that. So you just pour those into a container like this, shake them up until you end up with a nice kind of thick consistency here. I'm just going to use a spoon instead of the jigger. And again, with anything cocktail-wise like this, if you're making this at home, this isn't an exact science. It just has to taste right. It doesn't have to be right. Let's go about that much. There's that. And then we are doing, let's see here, a 1/2 ounce of almond syrup, which is, again, just simple syrup with some almond extract. You can make this at home. Again, just boil down some, same with simple syrup, just sugar, water, equal parts, or you can do a little heavier on the sugar if you want it a little bit thicker. And then for the almond syrup, just add some almond extract to taste. It is up to you. And then we're going to be doing a little bit of cherry juice. And again, I'm using some fancy cherries here. These are Luxardo cherries. You can get them online on Amazon. A can of them, they're can be a little bit pricey. A can of them is probably going to cost you about $35 to $40, depending on which brand you go with. But there are other options if you have like a Total Wine or Costco or Winco around. Usually they're pretty easy to get a hold of. All right, and that's it. Give it a normal shake. Nothing fancy about this one. And again, this one doesn't need a strain. We can just dump this right in there. And different glasses, different glassware is going to have different volumes. So as you can see, there's a little bit of space in the top of this one. That's fine. Give this a taste and give it a try. If it's too thick and if it's too sweet the way it is right now, there's space in there. Add a little bit of fresh squeezed lemon juice. It'll cut the sweetness. It'll thin it out a little bit. And if we want to make this a naughty drink, add a little bit of that spiced rum you had in the eggnog. It'll taste exactly like a pineapple upside down cake.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you. We are so grateful. Thanks to all of you at home. I hope that you are enjoying these amazing cocktails. If you're in the Spokane area, of course, you can go visit Zach and his fellow bartenders at Cease and Desist Book Club. And thank you for having me. And I'll throw it back to our executive director, Amy Lillard.
Okay, if I'm being honest, I don't think the word viscous has ever been used at an annual industry update. We've been doing this a long time, so congratulations, Zach. And I would like first dibs on the boozy one, please. But thank you, Zach. Thank you to Cease and Desist for bringing your knowledge out. I can personally highly recommend the old fashions there, but maybe only one. Careful, she said. So we have several different sections tonight. I'm going to move into our funding conversation. As many of you know, we have 2 funding programs right now. One is the Production Incentive Program, which we call PIP now, and then the Small Budget Production Initiative. Along the way this evening, I'm going to give shout outs to our staff members. As you have, those who've been around a while and have heard me talk, I always get to talk, but I'm part of a very big, passionate team. And I want to shout out Ken Hagan and Zinnia Sue, who run our finance department and do all of those audit and reviews of projects. And I want to dive into the Small Budget Production Initiative. This was huge this year. Just a reminder about the program, it is to support emerging local filmmakers who are writers and producers. We are able to financially support projects between $20,000 and $1 million, and we can do most types of motion picture content. Just some data that you'll see on this slide right now, because we do love the data at Washington Filmworks. We had 78 applications. Of that, 22% of those were approved by the board. That includes 17 projects total. And we've had 2 almost 3 projects complete, so that's exciting. And the applications came from everywhere. Of course, our production centers of Seattle and Spokane, but in addition, we had Olympia, Ording, Richland, Woodinville, like literally all over the state. As I alluded to earlier, we are very excited to bring in some special guests, and I am delighted to introduce Rachel Knoll-James. Welcome. I think you get the prize, Rachel, to be, I think, maybe the first person who finished production in the small budget production.
Yes, very exciting.
That's very exciting. And you made a feature film called Inheritance. Tell us a little bit about the film.
Yeah, so Inheritance is a narrative feature we shot on Bainbridge Island, and it's a story that kind of delves into the complexities of inheritance in kind of every definition of that word: inherited money, inherited addiction patterns, inherited family trauma. It's about 2 sisters who come back together for their father's funeral, and kind of an eruption of stuff that has never been dealt with that is time to deal with, and kind of goes into that territory.
I mean, it sounds so thoughtful, and yet we went to that set and it was a delight to be there. Everyone was so joyful and happy to be there, and like seemed like they were having a great time.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it, because you were billed as the writer, producer, and lead actor in the film. How did you do it, and like what advice would you give to somebody who might want to try this?
Yeah, it's funny. I think, as with many indie filmmakers, we're used to wearing many hats because you have to. And then I think over the years, I've really come to love all the different hats for different reasons. And so on this particular project, this is one I've been living with for almost 10 years. And Austin Highsmith, who was my producing partner, she and I came up with the story in an acting class in LA almost a decade ago. But it was always the intention that we would play these sisters. And so it was so wonderful to get to go through this process and develop it and do these rewrites and then actually live out these characters. I get so much from all these different roles that I really feel complement each other. As far as advice, I think the most important thing is, when you're thinking about wearing multiple hats, is thinking about who else is on your team to support, because I think that can, if you take on too much and you don't have that support, then that's when you start feeling the strain of it. But I think as long as you've got a supportive team and you know where your limitations are so that you can pass the hat when you need to, it's a really beautiful thing, and I would recommend it.
I'm so glad that you brought up Los Angeles as a former expat as well. So can you talk a little bit about, here you are in Washington State and Bainbridge Island, right? Like, who would have thought? Like, it was so great to see your application. We're like, Bainbridge Island, right? So talk a little bit about that, like that move from LA to here, and like why? Like, so many people are like, I need to go to LA. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I was in LA for 12 years, and I don't think it's a secret, especially in the wake of these SAG and writers' strikes, just the difficulties that women, that diverse filmmakers face in that industry to get funding, to get noticed, to get any opportunity. And so as a woman in LA trying to get movies funded and built, it was a very challenging, frustrating road a lot of the time. And my producing partner and I, Sienna, we had a company out there, and we just were just feeling like, and me in particular, I was really starting to feel like I was losing the why I got into this and why I loved it. And I think moving up here, there was part of me that was like, well, maybe this is me giving up on my dream because I'm leaving LA. Like you said, you have to be in LA. But when I got up here, it was actually the exact opposite, where I started doing some theater out here again, and then I started doing some film out here again, and it's like it reignited this love for the art of it, which is the whole reason I got into it in the first place. Not to mention the community, Bainbridge has been so welcoming. It's such a beautiful community that has such a love and focus on the arts and supporting it. Mm-hmm. And so I think landing in that community and having people who wanted to back these projects just because they loved the art of storytelling was so healing and refreshing. And so I think it kind of brought me back to life.
I think that's what I felt on the set, is like everyone was there because they were loving what they were doing, and they had this hunger to make this narrative project, and it was really fun to be there. So where were you when you found out that you got the money, the small budget production initiative money?
Yeah. Where was I? I was sitting in my office stressing because we weren't sure about this. So when we were still waiting to get our interim agreement with SAG, and both these things were coinciding, and it was like, oh my God, we have to start casting, and we're supposed to start shooting in 3 weeks. And so it was just like this flood of just joy and relief when we got the news of, yay, we're really going. And like within 2 days, we got our SAG interim as well. So it was kind of like, then it was just, okay, we're really doing this. We're going to go make our movie.
It was all kismet,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
You're like,
yes.
it's all happening
It's all
now.
happening,
So what does it mean? Like, this is the first time we have done this program in this way. Like, what did it mean to you as a filmmaker to get that money, that return on what you were spending?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time I've applied for a program here, or anywhere actually, for a feature film. So it was really wonderful to get not only the financial support, but then just the connection with you, with Ken, just the support I felt from this new community that I've been joining as an artist. And it was so wonderful having you guys on set, and just having that extra money, that when we were thinking about, okay, how can we make sure that we really maximize every dollar to end up on screen, and this just gave us a little bit more breath to bring on that extra crew person, or to make sure we had that extra week of post to make it really what it needs to be. And so I think it's a fantastic program, and I love that you have the small budget program, because when we were looking at the bigger project and just the some, as you get into union fees and those kinds of things, like for an indie film, that starts to feel very prohibitive. But so this option that gave a little bit more flexibility is really wonderful.
Yeah, it's a nice stepping stone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I know that we were chatting over lunch, and I heard this big news about one of your films. Do you want to share, like, the big news about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in 2021, I directed a feature also on Bainbridge Island, the first film that I shot up in Washington. And we just found out, actually, this week we just signed a distribution agreement. So we're going to be coming out in January. We're going to have a limited theatrical, and then we'll be out on streaming. So
Yes. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. And we're so grateful that that you're in the Filmworks family now. And I heard you saw the first edit of the film. So
Yes.
we'd like to see that too.
oh, can't wait
All
to
right.
share it with you.
Thank
Yes.
you so much for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Amy.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. So we have some news about the Small Budget Production Initiative to share with you this evening. As we have talked about in community quite a bit, is we are iterating as we learn. And we have learned a lot from the first season of the Small Budget Production Initiative. It was a bit of a flurry in the office, and we have some really important updates. One is, and this is kind of big news, we had only opened up application windows for those that were not fully funded and those that were fully funded. So both of those types of projects would apply during the windows that we publicly announce. The big news tonight is that if you are fully funded, if you are a small budget production that is fully funded, we will entertain that application when you are fully funded. You do not have to wait for an application window to apply, because there is a limited amount of funds for this program. And so if you're fully funded, come to us at any time. So again, that's a direct response to what we heard from community, which is great. The other thing, and I can't tell you how many questions I've gotten about this, but I'm finally gonna announce it. We are opening the next season of the Small Budget Production Initiative in February. We've made some tweaks to the guidelines and criteria with the board of directors, so those will be up very shortly. And we're going to open that application window for projects that are not fully funded in February. So take a look online at all the information. We're going to be doing office hours again like we normally do. And I have to say, it's been such a joy getting to know the people who applied. I mean, it's been, talking to people about what they need and how this program worked, and just being responsive. The board has been so responsive to all these new things. So there you go. Those are the two big things in that realm. But I also want to take a minute and talk about the PIP, the Production Incentive Program. This is the bigger projects that come through under that umbrella. We are very happy to see the strikes behind us. We are glad that our union partners were able to secure a bunch of really new and good things for their communities. And I'm very happy to tell you that immediately we have irons in the fire. So I know work has been slow, but I do want to tell you that we're talking to folks about filming here in 2024. So with that, we did just wrap recently 2 different productions in Spokane. One is 213 Bones, which is a horror film that filmed in Spokane. Literally just wrapped, I think, 2 weeks ago. And then we had Going Home, which season 2, which is on PureFlix, which is Sony's streaming service. And that is going to be premiering in early 2024. Speaking of Going Home, we're so grateful that our clients and our partners allow us to come on set and to tell the stories of, you know, this industry and our work and the work of the community. And so we had a great time on the set of Going Home, and I would love for Adam to roll that video for us.
One of the things that's hard about confronting death is that it begs the question of what are you doing with your life? And that's a hard one for people.
Season 1 was kind of a big test. Is the public going to want to watch a show about end-of-life care and, you know, of course, death, and a show where no guest stars recur, as we say?
It's really nice to come back and everybody's so comfortable and we all know each other.
Whenever a film comes to Washington, and particularly to Spokane, there's a challenge for me in keeping the role. And I'm laughing because it gets my sporting blood up, you know what I mean? And I think, you know, I want to keep all the roles in state.
Being able to work here in my home state is such a gift. It's, well, obviously I'm close to my family, but I also think the crews and the people here are just such great people.
I had no idea when I moved from LA to Spokane, Washington, that I would continue with my career here. I thought I'd just be, if working at all, I thought I'd be traveling, working on location. It was a very pleasant surprise.
So it's been great to be in Washington working and getting my health and benefits.
I've been working over half my life, and this is one of my favorite crews I've ever spent time with. There's something about the people of Spokane and just the people of Washington that they instantly adopt you as family.
Many of the people on our crew make their own films, make their own short films. They're always writing, they're always doing other things, even though they may have a technical job they're getting paid for. They've got a union gig on the show, but they're very capable creatives in their own right. There's really nothing better than series work to train, you know, to get people that could come on and maybe they're a little green at the start of season 1, but here we are at the end of season 2, and those people, I'd take them to war on any project.
The production incentive money is often the biggest factor in deciding where to film because it's extra money you get to put into your movie basically. At the end of the day, if it costs more to film in one location versus the next, that money is not going to show up on screen. So you're going to make a better movie where there's more incentive money available.
That's what the incentive allows us to do, is allows us to give jobs to people that are here and allows us to train up folks that are here. And like I said, with that Northwest spirit, the way it is now, you just don't have to go to LA or Atlanta or New Orleans, you know, to do the work anymore. We can do it here.
That was a big sip, Zach. It's viscous. It is delicious. I highly recommend. And I'm going to finish that later. Maybe not during the show. All right, so we're going to move into a new part of the evening where we're going to talk a little bit about the behind-the-scenes work at Washington Filmworks so that you know what's going on with us. I wanted to take a minute and talk about our committee work. We have 2 committees. One is the Film Leadership Council, which is chaired by Devontae Smith and Jeff Barehand. They are also appointed by the governor to the board of directors as well. And we had our very first ever open call for new members. And the board at the December meeting voted them on. So I wanted to introduce them with a slide and their names. So we have Bridget Swirsky, who is from Snohomish, Jennifer Gatz from Spokane, Ronnie Kabuka from SeaTac, Lillian Hennings from Chehalis, and Sarah Crow from Seattle. We're very excited to have them on board. This particular group is working on some films for Film Day, so you'll be hearing a little bit about that, and they'll be coming up with a new work plan in the top of the year, and I'm sure as things unfold, you'll hear about them as well. So in addition to that, oh, by the way, I just want to spend a second. We cycled a number of people off the Film Leadership Council, and I just want to thank Ben Andrews, Matthew Bobbitt, Zuni Haley, Andrew Lehman, James Bakutis, Melinda Rabine, Tifa Tome. They all have been on the Film Leadership Council for multiple years, and we thank them for their service. So next, I want to talk about the Equity Committee. A little camera shy, we've got one of our co-chairs here, Malcolm Pellis, sitting over behind us. But thank you to Malcolm and to Myron, who are our co-chairs. The role of the Equity Committee is very, very important to the work of Washington Filmworks. We did just approve our first ever equity charter, which you can find on our website. And the Equity Committee is directly responsible for looking at Washington Filmworks policies and programs to make sure that they're equitable. In addition to that, they will help the organization set the priorities of diversity, equity, and inclusion holistically. So we have new members, which is very exciting because it's been me and Malcolm and Myron pretty much for a year-ish. And so we're delighted to welcome new members, and here they are. It is Enrique Cernas, Davies Chirwa. Oh, Enrique is in Seattle, Davies is in Kent, Olivia Evans from Spokane, Frances Grace Mortel from Cheney, Nike Amoro from Spokane, and Michelle Mai Smith from Tacoma. So we welcome them as well and thank the board for helping to make that all happen. The other thing I want to talk about is a little bit about what's happening behind the scenes. You know, we have been talking a lot about new programs and new policies and new things. Well, it takes so many people to make this happen. And I want to shout out right now, you know, Kaylee Oakes and Julie Borden, who are very much responsible for helping with things like defining historically underrepresented communities, making sure we're talking to the lawyers, making sure that we're vetting this, you know, vetting the definition, hiring readers to evaluate for the enhanced incentive for telling the story of historically underrepresented communities, launching the Above the Line Education Forum and the Small Budget Production Initiative, navigating the Hollywood strikes, building databases, drafting guidelines and criteria, and doing applications. We are so lucky that over the past year that the board has given us the ability to hire a group of people who are passionate and driven and creative. And again, because I always get to talk, because I have the title, I feel like it's so important to honor the folks that we work with every day. So we did make a little video. However, Megan Sullivan, our controller, is not in this because she's about to give birth to a bouncing baby boy. And Julie Damon, who has been my partner in crime for 14 years, who I am so honored to work with each and every day. She is not in the video as well. So we gave the staff some rapid fire questions so you could get to know them a little bit. And Adam, would you please roll that video?
I don't know how high the rock was, but it felt really high. So there's this place called Jump Off Rock outside of has anybody been to Brighton Bush Hot Springs? Anyway, so there's a place that you go and you count like the number of railings to get there. I don't even know how to, I always follow people there. And then you pull off at the side of the road and there's a place where you can jump into the river. And I had to watch a few people jump before I went, but then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take a running start and jump into the river. It was super fun. And after I did it once, I did it another time, and you can kind of swim back and go back up. So I think it was at least like 20 feet up. I don't know. It seemed really that that was my most daring thing, I think.
So what is my favorite holiday? Well, of course, Christmas. Just simply because of, family gathering and the being together.
And my song, a song that I used to like to play on Friday evenings to mark the beginning of the weekend, is Titanium.
My go-to board game? Well, I have a 7-year-old, so that changes things. You know what we played the other night and it's just always really fun is Settlers of Catan. We return to that pretty often, and he can play that now. So I'll say that. But a close second, because I just want to put this plug out there, is we've started playing a game called Mantis, and it is very fun. It's like a card game based on mantis shrimp. And not really based on them, but it's super fun, super easy to learn. Highly recommend. Play it with everybody.
So my favorite go-to snack on a road trip would be first beef jerky, and then to accompany that would be Chex Mix. I get that every road trip, especially on the airplane.
Let's see. My favorite zoo animal. I'm actually not a big fan of zoos, but I love aquariums. So I'll do my favorite aquarium animal, which is jellyfish. Have you ever seen those things just floating around? It's kind of wild. Big fan.
Go-to karaoke song. It's got to be something Earth, Wind, and Fire. Let's go Boogie Wonderland, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, that's just a classic. I'm going with that.
If I am making a meal for myself, it is something super vegetable heavy. Nobody in my house. I have a teenage son, and my partner, I basically make 3 meals every time I cook. So this is a glorious question. It would just be a ton of vegetables, preferably roasted and slightly over crisp.
And I would buy a big old ranch. I want a big ranch. That's the first thing I know I would do. And so that's an easy one. I think it'd be somewhere in Eastern Washington, probably somewhere in the Columbia Basin.
And man, what does not belong on a pizza? I think I'd have to say anchovies. I'm very pro pineapple, so anchovies is my choice.
Let's see. Have I had nicknames? Yes, I would say the one I'm willing to share is that my high school friend Rowan called me the Melissa, and that caught on with a little R at the end, and I just thought that was funny. So that's me.
Happy holidays.
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 The boozy eggnog is still really good. All right. Moving on to our next segment, I want to start by giving a big shout out to Audra Lehman and Aaron Deonte, who are our Forward team, which is our workforce development office. They're doing incredible work, and we just launched the Above the Line Education Forum. This is part of a 2-part something, which is you have the Education Forum, which is for 30 people from underrepresented communities, and what we're doing is helping to give them the building blocks for success. So we're talking about how to fundraise, how to pitch a movie, how to market, things like that, so that you have the building blocks and you have those 30 folks in that cohort, and then they can apply for a mentorship, which will come after the education forum. 120 applications. We got so many talented people. It was so hard to make a decision. If you didn't get in, try again. All right. It's always better when I don't talk, so that we have other people talking about this whole thing. So I'm delighted to introduce Sherry Bilenga and Lex Scope, two of our inaugural members.
Hello.
Boozy.
Boozy.
There you go. Yeah, I'm not in camera.
Hey,
good.
compliments to the chef.
He does good work. All right. By the way, Sherry, we met on the set of 213 Bones. Oh, 213 Bones, the feature film that you were working on.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. We got to work with such an amazing crew from the Pacific Northwest, a lot of Washington-based folks, and people really came together, worked really hard, and created something that I think is going to be really awesome.
That's fantastic. But what a little bit about you? I learned a lot about you at lunch today. Things that are so awesome. So go ahead, give us a little bit about you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm one of those people who just believe so much that film can change the world. And I've been drawn to film and filmmaking since I was a young child. Learned to edit shooting in sequence on my parents' like giant VHS, with like the yellow cord hanging off the back.
I will say you're dating yourself with the VHS.
There we go.
All right.
There we go.
I get you, girl.
Yeah. But I took a very creative path in life. I did my bachelor's in broadcast journalism and art at Gonzaga, and spent about 15 years working as a wilderness guide, whitewater rafting guide, documentary filmmaker, and working as an artist, hanging exhibits across the country and doing a lot of travel, and really found art and nature to be such healing mediums, and so ended up going back to school, getting a master's in clinical mental health, and working in some alternate therapies, art therapy, adventure therapy. And then during the pandemic, just really felt like I love doing this healing work one-on-one, but I really want to get back into film and see what kind of messages and stories we can bring forward to like really inspire some healing on a bigger picture level. And so that's where I'm at. I'm a couple years back into putting all my focus into that. I've started a production company here in Spokane called Fat Gratitude. And right now we work with artists and not necessarily nonprofits, but do-gooders is kind of our clientele, and building towards some narrative feature-length projects.
That's awesome. Lex.
Howdy.
How are you?
Fantastic.
Good.
Fantastic. What about you?
Well, I want to start by asking you, where were you when you found out that you were accepted into this program?
I was on a subway in New York. Yeah, I was on a subway in New York, and I think you actually texted me like, "Go look at your email."
I was like, hey, it's this really exciting thing, and you were like, oh, I had no idea. So yeah, so that's exciting.
No, it
But
was.
we met each other through Scope. Your
Scope Screenings.
Scope Screenings.
Yeah,
So
which
talk a little bit about that.
So Scope Screenings is our bi-monthly film festival that we throw downtown in Seattle. It's a shorts festival because, the attention span nowadays, it's just what it is. But I say that to say we on purpose emphasize black, brown, tan, women, pretty much everybody in the film industry. Oh, wait, can we cuss on here? No, just don't. Probably I won't. Most of the people that the film industry turns a shoulder or a cheek to, we definitely uplift them intentionally. And this is the second year we've done it, and it's the most unique film festival pretty much in the world because we do it once a month or once every other month instead of once a year. So it gives 10 different directors opportunities to come show their work in front of a sold-out audience every month instead of that maybe I'll have a chance this one year, and if I don't get it, then I gotta wait till next year. We want to change that entire industry and disrupt everything and just make everything how we think it should be.
Well, and what I love about it is, you do such a good job in that environment. Like, making people feel comfortable and like making sure people are, you know, meeting each other. You know, like I went for the first time, I didn't know that many people, and it was like you were like the perfect host. So tell me the next one in Seattle.
The next one is 1212 in Seattle downtown at Hereafter. And I like that you said that, because I generally go on stage in front of everybody with my big mouth saying, if you don't shake 5 hands and get at least 5 grams, you're doing yourself a disservice. Not that kind of grams. Instagrams.
Yes.
Hey.
All right, so I think that you are in what, week 3 of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Had that week off for Thanksgiving, I think.
what's it like meeting all of these filmmakers? So you're in Spokane, you're in Seattle, we have folks from all over. What's it like meeting people virtually in this room, in this virtual room?
Okay.
I think it's a really inspiring group of people. I think it's so exciting. The diversity in people's backgrounds, what they bring to the table, the kind of work that they want to do, the things that really drive them and make them passionate. And I don't know, I think there's I think that if we want to bring new content to the world, then we have to do it in a new way. And I think this is a group of people who wants to create space to create content in a different way.
Mm-hmm. What's the vibe like in the virtual room?
I'd say it's a balance between, or a mix between productive chaos and like the kind of gems that you literally would pay millions of dollars for. Like I think that's like, it's the first time anybody's ever done it. It's the first time this has ever been done. Like, to me, it's like Washington State's version of the Sundance Institute, but like the first one. So we're like willing test subjects in this, and I think that this is so fantastic because I've been able to get the perspective of people that aren't not in my everyday circle. So like most of the time I'm getting feedback from my peers or even my mentors, but these are just essentially strangers, but that do the same exact thing I do for longer than I've done or whatever. So I just think there's just so much like valuable insight just even in the interactions of the 30 people that y'all somehow got together, and like I think this sorry.
I know. It's all like, what I love is that everyone has a different lived experience, right?
Yes.
And it's like everyone brings their own experience to the table. And it is the first time, and we're all acknowledging that, and we're gonna iterate just like how we do in everything, so we appreciate your feedback. As I've said, we had so many applications and so many talented people. There's so many amazing filmmakers in Washington. Why is it the right time right now for you two each to be in this cohort?
I feel like we gotta go back and forth. I just went.
Let's do it. Yeah. I would say for me, you know, I've kind of, even though I've always had this dream and this passion to work in film, I'm so grateful for like the creative path that my life has taken. And I just feel, I kind of came into counseling late in my life as well, but felt like I had so much more life experience to offer when I did step into that role. And I just feel like stories that I've had on my mind and my heart for over a decade are taking shape in these really exciting scripts, and I'm upping my skill level in all of the technical aspects of filmmaking, but then also working on bigger sets, like the film that just shot here, 213 Bones, and just really starting to like connect with other people who stay up at night excited about these kind of things. And I think Lex was kind of talking about that, just the excitement about kind of finding a community of creative people, a community of people who want to make meaningful work. And I'm super ready for it. Like, let's go.
Yeah. I like to piggyback off that because some of those were my talking points. But I will say right now for me, like this is in my life, in the trajectory, this is the most, I want to say motivated I've ever been. This is the most successful I've ever been. This is the most outward validation that I've ever like received. And I think because of the festival, like the time, because the festival started 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I wouldn't even have this kind of energy, this kind of charisma, this kind of bravado. But at the same time, like it's we, not me. So helping me literally helps the entire community of Seattle. That's why I think now is the time, because I got the screenings and like we bring 10 different directors every month, and I barely even show any of my own stuff. So like, anything that pour into me, I immediately gonna pour it into just my peoples.
Wow, it's lovely. So I've had a number of people come up to me at various places and say, you know what, I wish I would have applied. You know, a lot of them, only 27, like of the folks that got approved, 27% had 3 credits or less, right?
What does that mean?
Meaning like credits of like making film or something, right?
I got
So
0.
this is about a whole bunch of people who are merging. What would you say to those folks who didn't apply?
I would say art is something that comes to you. And if a story comes to you, if you're seeing the scenes, if it's something that's just like you're thinking about it and it's on your heart, then it probably needs to be made. And if you're doubting yourself and whether it's your moment or whether you're good enough or have enough experience, like it's a waste of energy. I would say apply. Put yourself out there, because if it's on your heart and it's coming up to be made, then you might be the right person to make it. And if you don't, who knows what will be missing.
You're talking about the people that did not apply?
Yeah, I mean, I just had a number of people who said I didn't apply, and I'm like seeing what's happening, and it's like,
You effed up. Why would you not? I'm not trying to be funny. Like, why would you not? Like, if you tried and you didn't, then I understand. But you didn't even try. I just can't even fathom that. That's just me, though. That's just me.
that's perfection.
Don't
F it up is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
like,
Okay,
what are you
that's perfect.
doing? You didn't even try to sign up.
Well, that is going to be like boozy, eggnog, and don't F it up. Takeaways for this evening, and I just want to say on behalf of our organization, thank you for trusting us and joining us on this journey. Like, it's nothing we've done before. We are deeply committed to it, and we're so grateful that you're here too. So, thank you.
Thank
you. Once I found out how big of a deal it is and how many people tried to get in and that I was selected and I was special, I was like, whoa! I'm just honored and thankful to be here, and I'm excited to really disrupt and change this game for real.
Oh, I love that idea. Disruption is perfect. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
30 people are in this cohort. You can go to our website and see everybody's names. It's up there now. We are so honored and excited about this program, and we're looking forward to the second season. Big news in the Forward Workforce Development Office that I want to share that we can look forward to in 2024. Those above the line folks, they can apply for one of those 5 mentorships, so that's happening in the spring of 2024. In addition to that, we are the above the line program that we're doing this year for narrative projects, we're doing for documentaries in the fall of 2024. So if you're a documentary filmmaker, we have not forgotten about you, and that's coming up in the fall. And this is the biggest breaking news coming out of the Forward office in Washington Filmworks. One of the things that I love about the board so much is that they are responsive to what we hear in community, and what we have heard about workforce development is that it looks different in every community across the state. And one size fits all doesn't work because every community is different. So next year, in January, we will be launching a workforce development fund that you can apply for. We're going to allocate $150,000 over the course of 3 different cycles to support financially workforce development in communities across the state. There's lots coming, forward. We're going to have to forward the Forward office. I didn't mean that pun, but it was funny. There's lots more that will come out about this, but thanks to the board who approved this just last week. So again, thanks community for showing up and telling us what you need. All right, here we go, final section. So I want to take a minute and talk about 2 really important things that we're doing. One is the film office. Shout out to Vicki Berglund Davenport. I want to share some stats because we love the data. So the film office is always about making or helping production work for productions and the community. And we are seeing a ton more people who are reaching out to our office because we're doing so much communications about the opportunities. Everything under this umbrella is a free service, if you did not know that already. And go ahead and put that slide back. So some of the big wins this year is we have 214 new locations in our location database. We have 74 new crew profiles in our production directory and 26 new support services. And this is a good reason why you should list yourself in the support services directory or the crew profiles. We have had 250 projects make inquiries at the film office about needing a permit, about needing something. And so just know that we don't recommend you own your own profile in all of those environments. So please sign up for the production directory or the service directory, depending on what's right for you. And finally, shout out to Sherry Wyatt, our new, coming on full time in January, our Rural Economic Development Manager. As I think you may recall, we've got a new enhanced incentive to help take production into rural counties, which is 30 out of 39 counties in Washington state. We've already had 2 commercials take advantage of that, which is fantastic. And we are busy recruiting new film liaisons who are ambassadors to film in their communities. And in January, we are debuting what's called a Film Ready Toolkit. So it will give communities who may not be as familiar with film, they'll give them the tools about how to permit, the questions to ask a production when they approach you, all kinds of good stuff. So look for that. And we will also be debuting a national marketing campaign to better attract commercials who want to film in rural Washington. So keep an eye out for that. So as productions apply for and get funding from the enhanced incentive for filming in rural Washington, we asked them to give us some marketing collateral. Our friends at CF Moto were kind enough to put together this video, and which we think is a beautiful love letter to locations in Washington state.
We came up to Washington to attempt to create something that's never been done for CF Moto America. They've been very, very ambitious on their product delivery in this market right now. We wanted to find a place that had multiple themes and looks and styles for each of their models.
Trying to find a lot of diversity in one place was hard, but when we looked at Washington, we found a lot of different diversity. Finding locations was fun.
You talked about my favorite locations. Ridge was really good, and they were extremely accommodating.
We went on the Filmworks website. They had a database that was really easy to choose.
The underpass in Tacoma, where we had skateboarders and colored smoke and break dancers.
That's where we found the SATSA Business Center, where we're here today at.
And then getting some of the best coastal roads that has a lot of undulation for beautiful running footage that's very, very unique and hard to get to. Man, 112 was very unique.
Production incentive program was huge in choosing to film here because it allowed us to bring the production up in a level that we really hoped or wanted to but didn't necessarily have. Also utilize local talent.
The local crew has been amazing. They all perform at an extreme high level, and they've all conducted themselves with the utmost professionalism.
Working with you guys has been really a fun experience. You know, I get used to our local crews where we're really tight-knit, but this one's been really great. I've really enjoyed working.
Yeah, my name is Mallory Dabbs from Olympia, Washington, and my role is the talent/writer for CF Moto. On top of like having a really cool experience of getting to do something different in my life, it's really cool to get paid for it and obviously have those incentives. So I mean, it's appreciative for me, and it makes it so I don't have to be at my day, like not at my day job today. So I'm here doing fun stuff.
Gosh, I mean, in the film industry, I feel like we don't really think about too far in the future as far as savings, as far as pension. I mean, God, I don't know if I've even spoken those words before. So hearing that there's being things put in place with that in mind, it's pretty encouraging. And to be a part of that in the state, in Washington and Seattle, feels good. So I'm stoked on that.
They've helped craft our vision. They've added that light that we look for in our production.
And we've definitely built a lot of friendships with people on our team.
Thank you, Filmworks, for providing this opportunity. We're incentivizing these guys to bring in some locals. I mean, we feel cared for. We feel like, you know, this is our zone, this is our place. So to be hired like this, it feels good. So thank you.
Again, I just want to thank Washington State and Filmworks. This wouldn't have been possible without you. We love filming here, and we'll definitely be back.
Personally love to thank the people of the Film Board and Filmworks of Washington for helping make this come true. We couldn't have done it without them. It means the world to me as a director and my crew.
Okay, so someone just told me that the boozy eggnog is making my cheeks red. So that might be a sign that we should be closing out this evening. I would like to shout out Jess Schwab and Alex Michaels. If you knew about this event, if you had all the pretty things in your inboxes or on social, if you saw that, that is them on every front. So thank you to them. So it's been an incredible year. All of the things that we talked about tonight that we have launched and are going to launch, all of that thought leadership and action came out in 16 months since the bill passed. Or came into law. And so we want to thank the community for supporting us and supporting the work and your enthusiasm. And I just want to say on behalf of the staff that every day we are thinking about how to help you have a career being creative. It's what drives us, it's what we love, and that is the journey that we are on. We're not messing around. I say that a lot with the staff. We have 3 really big picture goals over the next several years. We want to double this fund. 15 million is great, 30 million is better. We want to be known as the home for independent film and independent creators that supports diverse voices and new stories. And we want to be recognized as the place in the country that builds diverse and inclusive film sets. That is where we are going. This is what we think about and what we aim towards. I'd be remiss if I didn't say don't forget Film Day, which is March 7th. Stay tuned for more details. I'm sure the comms team will bring it to you. And please follow us on socials. We always like to close out the evening really reflecting on the past year and the community in general. And so Jess and Alex put together this photo montage. Have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you in 2024.